Concord's signing experience. So a lot of times with these webinars, we go to like some very specific topics to target specific problems, but we wanted to kind of take a step back. We wanted to take a step back out here today and just talk about the signing experience in general, because if you are a customer, and this goes for every single person that's paying to use Concord right now, you have unlimited documents, unlimited signatures, full legally binding e-signature. And so some things that you can learn today are maybe ways, that ways to make your e-signature process maybe through Concord more efficient, or ways to use it at all. Ways to just make your signing experience just work for you. Because like I said, if you're paying for Concord, then you are paying for full signature. So you might as well be using it. So I'm going to share my screen, start sharing at least the initial pages of the webinar here, just to kind of introduce everyone. So we already had some people in the chat. If you haven't put, kind of where you're calling from, go ahead, go to the chat, put that in. The reason for it really is so that you know that it's there, to tell you the truth, because our goal is to interact with you on these things. We want to answer your questions, to help you out, to get you to understand Concord better. And so we want you to know that the chat is there so that you can ask your questions. I mean, that's really it. My name is Blake, and I'm a senior customer success manager with the team. And then Quincy, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Quincy Berg. I'm an account executive here, and I have sold contract management and e-signature systems for about 8 years now. I've done projects where, yeah, you maybe just need to send out a few documents, maybe every week or every month, up to projects where you're sending tens of thousands of documents through something like a bulk send. So if you have any questions about like your specific workflows as I kind of work through my demonstration today, feel free to use the chat. We like to keep this an open forum.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're excited. We're excited about the topic. Do want to bring up as well. You may if you go to the evening webinars, we also have one there. If this time doesn't work for you, and Zach, our other account executive, will also lead those as well. So here are our emails. If you are a new customer, you will talk to Quincy. You can reach out to anybody, we'll help you, but you'll talk to Quincy and he'll take care of you. If you're a current customer, you'll talk to me or you'll talk to one of my colleagues. But don't worry about reaching out to the right person. We'll help you guys out. Just reach out to us. We'll put you in front of the right person. So what do you say, Quincy? You ready to sort of take over? All right. So I'm gonna stop sharing.
Yeah, let's do it. So yeah, let me share the screen here. I'm going to demonstrate myself functioning as a couple different individuals. So you'll see me share the screen, and then when Concord sends out the emails, I'll just stop the screen share. I'll open it up the email so you can see what that experience looks like. So let me go ahead and share. It looks like there's an AI assistant in the meeting, which is totally fine. All right. So inside of Concord, in this example, very simple here. This is a non-disclosure agreement. Within this agreement, there are a couple different parties on it. We can have someone external sign the document, and then there is a signing order where someone internally would be made the next person in the signing order. So I'll go ahead and send out a document here. It's all set up. I have all the fields where it needs to go, where they need to go already. And I'm going to add in a couple parties here. So we'll use Dean Douglas as our external recipient, and then Concord just automatically recognizes internal recipients, in which case John Smith here is already a part of our organization. He's our internal person in this workflow. As I'm going to send out these documents, you can offer a little bit of a different experience to the recipients, depending on what you need them to do in the contract. So there's 3 different permission levels here. In the first example, I'll show where when you send out a document and you just want the recipient to be able to review and sign it, that's a great situation to use this limited editor role for. The editor role is for individuals that need to be able to suggest edits to the language of contracts And then as well, viewers, these are just read-only recipients on the document. So let me write a quick message here. Hi, Dean and John. Let me know if you have any questions on this contract. Quincy. So I'll go ahead and send this out. Let me stop the share quick. I'm going to bring up my email to show what Dean Douglas sees in the contract here. So I'll reshare now. Let me do one other thing as well. And Blake, obviously, if you don't mind just running the chat here, I'm clicking around. All right.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, absolutely. Nothing yet in the chat yet so far, Quincy. But as he's kind of pulling this up, guys, don't hesitate to jump in there and send your questions.
All right. So this now I'm functioning as Dean Douglas. So I've received this email within the Concord system. The way this specific Concord account is set up is it has the Concord branding on it. So you'll see, okay, this was sent from Quincy Berg via Concord. I can see the domain here. I can see the Concord logo. On our enterprise plan, we do offer custom branding of these emails. So you can add in your company logo into the body here. You can also change the email address that the documents get delivered from through Concord. So it could be anything. It could be contracts at abcxyzcompany.com. You have the ability to customize the domain on the enterprise plan. But from Dean's perspective, we'll go ahead and open the document here. And I'm asked to continue to the document. And so this is what your external recipients see. This is their experience in Concord. So you can see here, okay, I have a couple fields to sign. There's a discussion section here. So if I write a message back, looks great. Now, Quincy, the person that just sent me the document, received an email here. You can see it pop up in my email inbox. But as far as the experience, we'll just say Dean has reviewed the document here. There's no questions. We'll go ahead and fill in the fields we need to. So the company name, if you send a document to someone multiple times, Concord will save in their company name into the document. Certainly Dean could change this name if need be. And then here, Dean is asked to type in the job title, and then he can either click sign here or he can click the sign button in the top right. And now within Concord, very much like other e-signature systems, there are three options. You can type in your signature here, you can draw in your signature, or upload in a picture of your signature. And so now Dean has signed the document, and since there was a signing order on the document, now John Smith, our internal colleague, got that same email that you saw Dean receive. And now John would go ahead and complete his signing process on the document. So once again, very straightforward example, but that's for a lot of our customers, that is the experience that the recipients see.
Hey, Quincy, we have a really good question in the chat, and I love this. So this person asked, are you suggesting using share versus send like request signatures, which like is such a great question to use. So there are reasons why you should use one over the other, and it truly will depend on your situation. So you know, with what Quincy showed, when you hit that share button, the first benefit is that you get to customize that message. But when you think about it, also when you kind of play it out as well, what hitting that share button will do, what it defaulted to when Quincy shared it was called a limited editor. So that means all that Dean could do is fill out the fields and sign the document. However, if you want to go a step beyond signatures and actually like redline the document, have Dean edit the document, that's when you want to when you need to use the share button, because hitting that share button is going to keep the document in what's called the review stage. And actually, I have another thought I wanted to share as well, Quincy, if you don't mind bringing that up again. But
Sure.
By hitting that share button, if you share the document with someone as a full editor, they're going to have access to edit the document with you. So that's when you want to use that share button. So he's going to do this right here. And as you see on the right hand side, it says limited editor. So he can hit that editor button. They'll be able to come in and edit with you. We even have the ability to track changes if you want to see what they can do. Now, if you're just getting a signature, hitting that request signatures is a great tool if you want to lock the document content up. Because I had a customer say, hey, but like, how can I lock people out of the document after approvals are met? Hitting that request signature button will send it into the signing stage, which is going to lock it up. So I really just like to highlight that because man, that's a really great question. I don't know that you know how awesome, how much I appreciate that you said it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. I like using that on a situational basis. And this is me speaking from the perspective of a salesperson. When I'm, trying to work with a new customer or get someone to sign some form of contract, I like using the analytics in the system quite a bit to craft a custom message back to the prospect. Um, just so I'm not, just clicking request signatures, they get an email in their inbox with no context. But I
Mm.
agree, Blake. It's a nice way in that situation to just lock down the document contents and prevent further edits to it. And just to kind of visually show what I'm explaining here, once again, as a salesperson or anyone responsible for getting signatures on contracts, in a quick fashion, there is this activity section in a Concord account where you can see all of the documents and how your recipients are interacting with them. So like for this one here, I can see John Smith, whoever I sent this document to, made a markup inside of the document. That's fine. As a salesperson, what I also look for certainly is, okay, are people opening contracts and reviewing them? And so this is a demo account, so you're not really going to see it here too much. Um, if we come over to this screen here, we'll send out that document. You'll also see if people are opening documents, and this is internal facing, by the way. Your recipients don't have these sort of analytics as much as you have in your Concord account. But in this section here, I'd be able to see, okay, the recipient has opened the email, and also another action is the recipient has reviewed the contract. So I use those in my sales process to just kind of try and accelerate deals, understand who is looking at the contracts, and ultimately, try and move the deal forward.
That and your point there with kind of there are things that you can see versus what Dean can see, I think is really great because when a lot of customers are like, what does the external guest see? Also, if you ever want to just like completely replicate your experience in one of our demo environments, we have that ability to show you what the external guest sees. But as you saw, when we saw it from Dean's perspective there, the document view looked very similar to your view as an internal user. But if we talk about what's missing, if he's in that audit trail, any internal actions like approvals or things like that won't be seen by that external guest. Also, it'll start when they join the document, right? So they're not going to see all the historical, back and forths. But then a final thing that I know is really important if you're thinking about adopting e-signature and you only use us for like storage, you're probably using that summary panel, which is that place where you store the important metadata. That's an internal only tool. So that won't be seen by your external guests. That will only be seen by you. So you can put your proprietary information. You can put sensitive information maybe to a deal. If you want to put, I had a customer that used the summary panel to put like anticipated contract value. Like, hey, we're not going to go below this number, but we don't, want to know, want to let the customer know as low as we want to go. So um, that is
Great
that is an
point.
option for you. Yeah, is that summary panel is going to be only information for you to put in there. Yeah.
And then just to continue on here, this next example of what I'm showing is when you send out a document to an external recipient and you have made them that editor permission level. And so it's the exact same experience up to this point. So Dean, in this case, opens the document, but now you'll notice there is an edit button at the top for your external recipients. So they're able to come in here and then they're able to go into the document and suggest a change, very much like a Google Doc type of workflow. We'll change this to 456. And then, Dean would go through, make his markups that he needs to across this contract. And then there is a save button here. When the save button is clicked by the external recipient, now your internal Concord user that has sent out this document receives a notification that there is a new version of this document. And then they would be able to go into the document here, see the screen, and then see the external recipient's suggested edits. Now, a very another common part of this workflow is your external recipients may just want to work in Microsoft Word. If they're going to be suggesting edits to language in a contract. So your external recipients also have this capability here where they can download a PDF or download a Word document. And back to our earlier point where Blake and I were speaking about what do your internal users see in an audit trail of a document, you will also see if they're extracting documents out to these different file types. So it's helpful analytics, but from the external recipient's perspective, this isn't the best example, but Dean here, he made a couple edits for whatever reason. He now wants to take the document out to Word. Inside of the document here, any markups that have been made in Concord on this document will automatically show up in track changes in Microsoft Word. And Blake, just let me know, I just opened Pages on my Mac. Can you see that on the screen?
No, we can't. We're still only seeing your contract.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just reshare it here. So here is the Word version of the contract, and you can see there have been two changes made. It's the exact same changes made in the Concord document. So both Microsoft Word and Concord speak back and forth to each other to handle negotiations. And then as contracts are negotiated back and forth, Concord is handling all the versioning and keeping a running trail of all of the suggested edits in the contract and whether they were accepted or rejected.
Yep. Absolutely. And again, I want to highlight all of this, guys, that we're talking about is included in all of our subscriptions. So if you want to, even if you use another tool, it's at least worth chatting with us to see it, in my opinion, right? Again, this is come standard with every single account that is paying for Concord. So we want to, we want you to consider to use it because it makes a lot of people's lives easier to have it all done in-house. So
A couple other points I didn't note, and Blake, if you don't mind reading
I
Nikki's
got it.
comment while I make this, this point. Um, Inside of a Concord document, you set up fields for the recipients to fill in a company name or specific details. You can use the same field across the document to have, let's say, a company name get filled into 20 places in a contract automatically. So that is a nice little benefit of, any signature tool like Concord. You can help recipients fill in the document faster by using the same fields where they need to be in a document.
Mhm. All right. So to answer Nikki's question, there's a couple in here. The first one is if you share the document, do you still need to request the signature later? Yes and no. The technical answer is no, but here's how it works. So if, let's say I am Dean in this example, and Quincy shares a document with me and I am set up as a signer. Without any, extra intervention, I can go from editing the document or just like looking at the document that's in the review stage straight to signing it. I don't have to have a request sent to me. Now, ways to prevent that would be to institute a signing order or an approval flow. Those will both block an external guest potentially from signing your document. So no, you actually don't need to hit that request send button. You can always do it to force it. Hitting that request button is a way to force it into that signing stage. So I hope that answers your question. Let me know if not. Next, if the customer gets editor access, they're only able to mark up the document in redline when we, the company, approves or rejects. So I think I am understanding your question. The way that Google Docs and Microsoft Word works, which is what we initially modeled that track changes feature after, is that external guests can accept their own edits. That is the default. However, we have a setting in there that you can turn off in each document, and I recommend setting it up on templates so that it's off as a default for the drafts of that template. But you can turn off the setting so that guests cannot accept their own changes. So they can suggest changes for you to accept. Now, what I will say is the guest can accept your changes. That will always be there, right? If they're an editor, they can accept your changes. So just things to consider. That is a feature that you can turn off where we kind of, we're doing contract specific stuff. So we wanted to pivot a little bit from, I guess, the common features there. Yep. And then, yeah, there we go. I think I answered all your questions and yeah, that was a great one. All right, next question. If the customer downloads the contract into Word, can they edit it without using track changes? And if they can, do the changes get marked up when they import it back in Concord? This is a great question. So they can download the contract into Word. They can export it. They at that point it's their own file. They can take it to their system and edit it without track changes. Yes. The cool thing is if they have track changes turned on their Word and they upload it back in as a Word file, we will register those tracked changes and show them on the right-hand side. Now, we should we should be able to track to show you the different changes. So we have a version history. It kind of is a case by case basis depending on, I guess, what changes in the document. But with we have full version history that if it happens in Concord, definitely we'll be able to show you kind of what changed from document to document in the versions. Helen, this is kind of like a we need to see it and understand, I guess, what's common there. To truly answer your question, I guess. So it's kind of a non-answer there, but it's sort of we need to take a look and see.
And that's why, I mean, me personally, the preferred option is to do all of the negotiations through Concord because once again, when someone exports a file, that's their file. And you think people operate in good faith, but sometimes people don't. And so I've seen contracts changed without, suggesting edits, and using track changes in Word. So that's why I like our system. We have those fail safes built in where we're tracking every single thing. But at the end of the day, you will work with some external parties that refuse to use a system like Concord. They just want to use Word. And so that's why, yeah, Helen, it's helpful for Blake to look at it, especially in making sure the version compare section is picking that up.
Yep.
One other thing in terms of recipient experience, there's been a couple questions around request signatures, using that request signatures button. It's important to know that Concord also sends automatic reminder notifications to people that have been sent a document that they need to sign. So this is an example here of one of those reminders. They come, so when you send out a document, the first automatic reminder that will happen is in 7 days from the sending of the document. The recipients will then get 3 additional reminder emails once every 7 days, and then the reminders stop from there. So like other e-signature systems, Concord has these automatic reminders, in it as well. And then it looks like Warren's assistant is summarizing the meeting. Let's go on to Deanne's question here. My struggle locating where a contract is filed, especially when someone else has filed it. I put in search, locate the contract. But how do I know where it's filed?
This is a good question. Let me if you know your role, go ahead and put it in, or here I can tell you. But basically, this is a really good question to kind of talk about sort of how we manage access on Concord, because access is granted one of two ways. It's granted in bulk via folders, which is really important to know, but it's also granted individually. If you are not an administrator, a document can be hard to find. I see you're an administrator on your account. So let's do a couple things. First, what I would recommend is going to your settings, bottom left-hand corner, going to preferences, and then double checking that there's a button turned on called administrator access. I imagine if you turn that button on, a lot of your struggles will be mitigated. So he's showing how to find this here. A lot of your struggles will be taken care of because you're now going to be able to search and actually find the document. You won't have issues there. If you're still having issues after you turn that button on, reach out to us. There's probably a really quick fix. But if you're not an administrator, or if you're an administrator training your users, one of the first things that everybody should do is make sure a document lives in its folder. Because if Quincy is an admin and I'm just a general user and he doesn't put it in a document in a folder, I won't be able to see it because I'm just a general user. But since we grant access to documents in bulk via folders, that's a really great way to quickly you put it in, he puts it in the sales folder and I can see that document because I can see the sales folder. So that's a good way to know. And oh, and actually the final question here is how do I know where it's filed? It's a great question. Would you mind opening up a doc and we'll show you. So um, it's just going to be a little folder icon up at the top. It looks a lot like Google Docs, but it's going to be to the right of the title. There's a little folder icon. So it's a really great, easy way to see how it's filed. And then we actually, this is a super new feature. From your inbox, you can now see a folder column. So you can add a column to show you the folders. How many admins can be on one Concord account? As many admins as you have users. So you just pay based on seats. So if you have 10 seats, you can have 10 admins. It's just depends on how you want to distribute your roles. Yep. These are great questions. We are about at the end of, yeah, absolutely. We're about at the end of our call. So if you have, we might do is stop the questions. We're going to copy this last one and maybe go personally in email and respond there. But if you guys have additional questions, reach out to us. We want to chat with you guys. So Quincy and I will put in our emails here in the chat. Actually, oh, there we go. They're already there. So reach out to us. Again, we're going to copy this question and send you the answer individually, but we really appreciate you guys coming and for engaging with us.